Revision of Accounting Standard 29 Provisions, Contingent Liabilities and Contingent Asset. Let us first understand what do we mean by liability. Liability in the most simple sense would mean an obligation, the settlement of which will be requiring outflow of cash or other resources by the enterprise, and this obligation has arisen because of a past event. For example, let's say we purchase certain goods on credit, so there's a trade payable which is generated. This trade payable is an obligation which requires settlement, and to settle it we will have an outflow of cash or other resources, and the past event is the transaction of purchase which we had done on credit. Another example could be, let's say, borrowings. We have taken a loan, we need to repay it in future, so it represents a liability. Let us understand the definition as per Accounting Standard 29. It says that liability is a present obligation of the enterprise arising from past event, the settlement of which is expected to result in outflow from the enterprise of resources embodying economic benefits. So by present obligation, we mean that the obligation is probable. That means there are more than 50% chance that we will have to settle this obligation. Past event is the transaction or an event which has taken place because of which this liability has arisen, and the settlement will either be done in cash or maybe in some other form, but it will result in outflow of economic benefits from the enterprise. Now let us talk about provision. See, provision is a liability. So the entire definition, that means that it's a present obligation which has arisen out of past event. The settlement will result in outflow of benefits from the enterprise. So provision is a liability, but the measurement of provision will require substantial degree of estimation. Let's take an example. In liability, we said that we purchase certain goods. So there's no uncertainty. The value of goods have to be paid to the creditor. We took an example that we made certain borrowing. So the amount borrowed needs to be repaid to our lender. But in case of provision, let us take an example. Let's say there is an IT demand, income tax demand which has come to the enterprise. So in that income tax demand, we'll have to evaluate, right? Whether the stand taken by the income tax department is correct, not correct, what are the past judgment, what are the past ruling, etc. And by taking all these factors into account, we'll have to estimate that what could be our probable exposure, and the thing is sub judice. If we contest it in a tribunal or in a court, right, the judgment of the tribunal or court will determine the amount which would be payable to the income tax department. So in this case, we are not sure what is the exact amount which needs to be paid. So in case of a liability, there is no uncertainty or ambiguity in relation to the amount which is payable. But in case of provision is a liability, but it requires substantial degree of estimation. Another example could be, let's say we are manufacturer of TVs, and while selling those TVs, we give warranties to our customers. Then in next 2 years, because of any technical defect, the TV does not work, we will repair it free of cost. So not that all the TVs that we sell would come back to us for repairs. There's some portion of TV which will come back to us, and we will incur expenditure on repairing on those TVs. But since we have recognized the sale of the TV from the basis of matching concept, we'll also have to recognize a provision for warranties. So based on some past experience, some trends, some technical analysis, we'll have to estimate the amount of expenditure which we may have to incur in servicing those TVs if these TVs turn defective. Right? So provision is a liability, but the measurement of which will require substantial degree of estimation. What is estimation? Estimation is basically making a prediction or a forecast of the amount which may be required to settle that obligation. How do we make this forecast? Maybe on the basis of the judgment of the management, maybe on the basis of the past experience. There could be certain technical experts. We may take the opinion of these technical experts to recognize the amount of this provision. See, in the balance sheet, you will see two types of provision, one on the asset side, another on the liability side. On the asset side, you would generally see let provision for depreciation or maybe provision for doubtful debts. On the liability side, you may see provision for retirement benefits, provision for warranties, provision for certain expenses, provision for claims, etc. This standard AS 29 only deals with those provisions which are on the liability side of the balance sheet, because the definition itself says that provision is a liability. Those provisions, right, provision for depreciation or provision for doubtful debts appearing on the other side are actually not liability, because we don't need to do the settlement. There is no outflow of cash. Provision for depreciation is basically the reduction in the value or the consumption of the value of the asset. Provision for doubtful debt is basically our estimation of what amount that we could not recover or we may not recover from our debtor. So these are contra assets and these are not covered under this standard. So AS 29 does not cover provision for depreciation and provision for doubtful debt. Now let us understand that what is the recognition criteria for provision. When do we recognize or record provision in the books of accounts? 3 points which we need to remember, and all these 3 points need to qualify, then only we will record provision. First, the enterprise has a present obligation as a result of the past event. It is probable that there will be an outflow of resources embodying economic benefits to settle this obligation, and a reliable estimate can be made of the amount of the obligation. So 3 portion, the first 2 portion, present obligation as a result of past event and probability of outflow, is already covered in the definition of liability, but provision is something which requires substantial degree of estimation. So the recognition criteria says that you should be able to make a reliable estimate, right? Unless your estimate is reliable, you cannot recognize a provision in the books of accounts. So arbitrarily you cannot determine the amount. The process of making estimation has to be reliable, right? It should be substantiated with certain facts and circumstances of the case based on which you determine the amount. If these conditions are not met, no provision is to be recognized. Now let us analyze the definition, because see, there are certain important elements: present obligation, past event, probability that it is probable that there will be outflow of resources, and a reliable estimate. So let us look at each of them. First, present obligation. See, present obligation means that the obligation exists at the balance sheet date and it is considered probable, that it is more likely than not. Means there is more than 50% chance that there is an obligation existing at the balance sheet date which will require settlement and there will be outflow of resources from the organization. And it is based on the available evidences you can determine whether it is probable or not probable. In case of present obligation, we are saying that it is considered probable, means more likely than not. In mathematical terms, there are more than 50% chance that an obligation exists at the balance sheet date. So how do we take a decision whether a provision needs to be recorded or not? So it says that based on the evidences available, if there are more than 50% chance that an obligation exists at the balance sheet date, then you recognize a provision. But it is less than 50% chance, means more likely that no present obligation exists. So there are less than 50% chances. In that case, we will not recognize a provision, but we will disclose that particular obligation as a contingent liability in the notes to accounts, right? Unless this obligation is remote, the probability of this obligation is remote, means it's frivolous. There are very minimum chance that there could be an exposure or there could be an obligation. In that case, you neither have to record provision nor you have to disclose contingent liability, because the chances are absolutely remote. So we are done with present obligation. Past event. See, the provision would surely come from a past event. For example, let's say we have sold TVs, therefore we need to recognize provision for warranties. We have filed our income tax return and there is an assessment in process, which is the past event, because of which a demand or an exposure have come up. Provision for retirement benefits. We have consumed the services of the employees and therefore there is a question of paying retirement benefits to the employees. So past event which leads to present obligation is known as an obligating event, right? So we only make provision for the past event. If there are, let's say, losses or operating losses which may incur in future, we don't make provision for that. So an event is an obligating event when an enterprise has no realistic let's say alternative but to settle, right? There's no way out, you need to settle this obligation, right? No provision is recognized for costs that need to be incurred to operate in future, right? So it's not the future event for which we are making the provision, the past event which has already taken place and that has given rise to an obligation at the balance sheet date. Another important point is probability of outflow of resources, right? There is a present obligation, but the important factor is that it is probable that there will be outflow of resources from the organization to settle that obligation. So what is this probability? Probability that the event will occur should be greater than the probability that the event will not occur. Means there are more than 50% chance that there will be an outflow of resources to settle that obligation. And very important point, reliable estimate should be made of the obligation. AS 29 says that normally it would be possible for an organization to make reliable estimate of the amount of the provision, right? In very extremely rare circumstances, right, you may not be able to estimate the amount of your obligation. So if you are able to estimate the amount, you have to recognize the provision. But in an extremely rare scenario where you're not able to estimate the amount, then in that case you need to disclose that particular thing as a contingent liability with appropriate notes. Now let us understand what do we mean by contingent liability. See, contingent liability, we have to break it into two parts. Contingent liability. What do you mean by contingent? Contingent means something which is uncertain, right? Contingent means something which is uncertain. So a liability which is uncertain means it may occur, it may not occur. Then therefore we will call it as contingent liability. So contingent liability is a possible obligation. See, in case of liability and even in case of provision, we said that it's a liability. So a liability is a present obligation, means it is considered probable. There are more than 50% chance that an obligation exists at the balance sheet date. Whereas a contingent liability is a possible obligation, means the existence of this obligation is not probable. There are less than 50% chances, right? There are less than 50% chances that there will be an obligation which will require settlement and which may require outflow of cash. So a possible obligation arising from the past event, the existence of which will be confirmed, right? Right now it's not confirmed. Existence of which will be confirmed only on occurrence or non-occurrence of one or more future uncertain events which are not wholly within the control of the enterprise. For example, there is let's say some customer has filed a case on us because our product was defective. We were saying that the product was not defective. It is because of improper handling on the part of the customer, the product is not working. So the customer is claiming that the product is defective. We are claiming that the product is not defective. The defect may be because of improper handling by the customer. So here, based on the facts and circumstances of the case, we will have to evaluate whether it's a possible present obligation or a possible obligation. Possible obligation would mean that it is not probable that it will require settlement, right? It is sub judice, it is in the court, right? The judgment of the court will come and it will decide whether there is an obligation or not. So it's an uncertain future event and it is not under the control of the enterprise. Another point, a present obligation, right? So earlier we said that a present obligation usually denotes a liability or a provision. It says a present obligation that arises out of past event, but it is not recognized. Although it's a present obligation, but still we will not recognize. Why? Because it is not probable that it will result in outflow of economic resources, or it is not possible to make a reliable estimate of the amount. See, we did the definition of provision. In the definition of provision, we said that it's a present obligation out of the past event, but it will result in outflow of economic benefits, and it is also possible to make a reliable estimate. So in this case, although it's a present obligation, but it is not probable that there will be an outflow, so therefore it's a contingent liability. And the second point says that the reliable estimate cannot be made. So if you are not able to make a reliable estimate, still you will have to disclose it as a contingent liability. Possible obligation, we have already discussed that the obligation is not probable. There are less than 50% chances of that obligation to materialize. Now let us talk about recognition of contingent liability. See, we recognize liability in the books of accounts, we recognize a provision in the books of accounts, but contingent liabilities are not recognized in the books of accounts. Contingent liabilities are disclosed by way of note to accounts, and that too if the probability is remote, in that case we don't disclose the contingent liability. So an enterprise should not recognize contingent liability but disclose it unless the possibility of outflow is remote. If the probability of outflow is remote, then we don't need to record it. But we need to continuously evaluate and assess our contingent liabilities, which we have disclosed by way of notes to accounts, because we have recorded this as contingent liability in two circumstances. One, it's a possible obligation, right? At the time we made the evaluation, but maybe next balance sheet that this possible obligation may become, let's say, present obligation because of change in circumstances, more information, etc. So it needs to be continuously evolved, and if the contingent liability has actually become let's say present obligation, then we need to disclose that a provision, right? So if an item earlier disclosed as contingent liability, the outflow of economic benefits become probable. In that case, you need to recognize a provision. So earlier it was a possible obligation, now it has become a present obligation. At the probability as arises, there are more than 50% chance. Therefore, we may need to reclassify it from the contingent liability category to actually bringing it into the books of accounts as a provision. Now we'll talk about contingent asset. See, contingent asset is a possible asset. Like contingent liability is a possible obligation. In the same way, contingent asset is a possible asset that arises out of past event, the existence of which will be confirmed only on occurrence or non-occurrence of certain uncertain future events which are not wholly within the control of the organization. For example, let's say we have a government grant. The best example could be, let's say we are entitled to a government grant if we meet certain conditions, but AS 12 sets out the recognition criteria for the government grants. Unless we meet that recognition criteria, we cannot record that government grant. So it says that a contingent asset, see, we work on the premise of conservatism, we work on the premise of prudence. So a contingent asset would basically mean that we are recognizing income before it has become certain, right? So contingent asset is a possible asset which arises out of past events. The existence will be confirmed based on uncertain future events which are not under the control of the organization. So what about recognizing these contingent assets? It says that we should not recognize contingent assets in the books of accounts. So should we make a disclosure of contingent assets in the books of accounts? No. The standard says neither will we recognize contingent asset nor we will disclose contingent assets in our financial statement, right? Then what should we do? It says that it depends upon the management. If the management feels that the contingent asset is probable and it's significant, then it may disclose this contingent assets in the report of the approving authority. So in case of a company, it may form part of the director's report. The director may state that there are certain contingent assets and they may give the details, right? But it should not be recorded in the books of accounts and it should not be disclosed in the financial statement. Then again, like contingent liability, the contingent asset should also be continuously assessed. Moment the contingent asset becomes virtually certain, when the realization of income becomes virtually certain, in that case it no more remains a contingent asset, it becomes an asset and it should be recognized in the books of accounts. So when realization of income is virtually certain, then the related asset is not a contingent asset and it is recognized, and its recognition is appropriate. And again, we need to continuously assess it, right? Maybe it is contingent in year 1, contingent in year 2, contingent in year 3, but maybe in year 4 there is virtual certainty of realization of income and we may have to reclassify it, right? And consider it as an asset. We need to recognize the relevant income and the asset in the books of accounts. Then we'll talk about measurement of provisions, right? We'll talk about measurement of provision. It says that the provision, see, we know the provision has to be based on estimate. So how do we calculate this estimate? The estimate should be the best estimate of the expenditure required to settle the obligation. The amount recognized as provision should be the best estimate of the expenditure required to settle the present obligation at the balance sheet date. How do we make this estimation? We have already said that it depends upon the judgment of the management, supplemented by the experience of similar transactions which had taken place, or maybe report of the independent experts may be used to identify the amount of provision that needs to be recorded. See, now this provision is something which will happen at a future date, right? We are taking an exposure. Right now there is uncertainty, therefore we have recorded it on the base of estimate. In future the event will be confirmed and we'll get to know what is the exact amount. But this standard said you should not discount the amount of provision to its present value, except for in case of the provision for decommissioning, restoration and similar liabilities that is covered under AS10, property, plant and equipment. If you are making a provision for decommissioning, restoration and similar liabilities, in that case that provision needs to be discounted to its present value, and the discounting rate should be the pre-tax rate. So in AS10 we discussed that maybe we have taken a mining site on hire, we'll do excavation activities. After 10 years, let's say our license is for 10 years. After 10 years, we need to remove our equipment from that site and restore that site in the condition in which we had taken it on lease. So this expenditure will be incurred at the end of the 10th year, but we need to make a provision for that in the year when itself, when we are recognizing the asset. So while we are making this provision, the provision should be the discounted present value of the expenditure which we will incur in future. See, there are certain risks and uncertainties which surround the events and transactions, right? So the uncertainties should be taken while into account while making the best estimate of the provision. Then we'll talk about future events. See, we make provision only of the past event. If there are certain future events, we don't make provision for future operating losses. So it says only those obligations arising from past event that exists independently of enterprise future course of action should be taken into account. But while we are determining the amount of provision, we need to reflect the future activities in the amount of provision, right? So impact of future event should be reflected in the amount of provision where it is sufficient objective evidence that they will occur at only then. See, for example, we took that we have taken this mining site on let's say lease, and we're doing the mining activity. After 10 years, when we'll surrender that particular area, we need to restore that area and remove the equipments, etc. So currently the way in which we have to remove this equipment will cost, let's say, 1 crore rupees to do that entire activity. But maybe there is change in the process, there are further developments in the process, and this same activity may cost, let's say, 20 lakhs after 10 years. So if there is an evidence, right, which is sufficiently supported by let's say facts and circumstance of the case that this cost will reduce to 20 lakhs, then only we'll record it at 20 lakhs. We'll not assume that after 10 years there should be some new technology which will be there which will substantially reduce the cost, and if it is 1 crore now it will become 20 lakh. There should not be any assumption. There should be sufficient objective evidence based on which you will do this estimation. So therefore an enterprise does not anticipate the development of a completely new technology for unless it is supported by sufficient objective evidence. There could be, let's say, the laws will change, the tax rate will change, etc. So if there are new legislative changes which are to be taken place, these new changes will be taken into account while doing our estimation work only if the legislation is virtually certain, means maybe it is passed by both the houses of parliament and it is waiting approval by the president. Normally the president gives the approval, right, which is proof from the past record. So in that case we may say that it is virtually certain, but still if these legislation are in the houses of the parliament, we may not assume that this legislation may be passed. Then expected disposal of asset. Again, same ways, we have taken this mining site on lease. After 10 years, right? After 10 years, we'll have to remove the asset and restore it. So while removing these assets, certain portion of these assets will be sold and there could be gain on selling those assets. We will not take this gain on sale of this asset into consideration while we are making the provision for the removal of the asset and restoration of the site. So gain on expected disposal of assets are not taken into account in measuring the provision, even if the expected disposal is closely linked, right, to the giving which gives rise to the amount of provision. Now we'll talk about reimbursement. See, what is reimbursement? We will incur certain expenditure or we'll settle a liability right now, and afterwards we'll get a refund of either the whole amount of expenditure which we have paid or some portion of the expenditure we have paid. This refund which we get of the amount which we have already incurred will be treated as reimbursement, right? So it says that an enterprise with present obligation may be able to seek refund or reimbursement of part or all of the expenditure from another party. For example, maybe we have taken an insurance. So right now we have to let's say pay off the amount, and then we will let's say receive a reimbursement. I'll give you a simple example. Maybe we get admitted to a hospital, right? We pay the bill of the hospital and then we will file with the Mediclaim authority that we have incurred so much of expenditure, please give us the reimbursement. An indemnity clause there is there in the contract, or a warranty which is provided by the supplier. Maybe I sold a TV to the customer, the TV isn't working, the customer made a claim on me. So I had to settle the claim, but I am not the manufacturer of the TV. So I will pass on this claim to the manufacturer and I will get the indemnity or the loss which I have, or the amount claim which I have paid. So how do you deal with recognition of reimbursement? How do you deal with recognition of reimbursement? It depends upon the fact what enterprise will remain liable for the whole amount if the third party fails to pay. So if the third party which is supposed to give me the reimbursement, if it fails to pay, still I will have to pay the full amount to the claimant. In that case, I have to recognize provision for the whole amount, right? I have to recognize the provision for the whole amount of the liability, and for the reimbursement portion, I have to recognize a separate asset only when it is virtually certain that the reimbursement will be received by us when we settle the liability. But if there is a scenario that enterprise will not be liable if the third party does not pay, right? Agar the third party will pay, then only I will pay, otherwise I will not pay. Then in that case, it is not my liability and I don't need to record this as a provision. Then we'll talk about joint and severally liable. For example, there's a claim on our company and our company along with the other company is liable to meet that claim. So what will happen? The portion for which we are liable, right? The portion for which we are liable, we have to record it as a provision, and the portion for which the other company is liable, we will record it as a contingent liability, because we are expecting that the other company will meet its obligation, right? So recognize provision for the enterprise portion of the liability, disclose contingent liability to the extent that it is expected that the obligation will be settled by the other party. Then changes in provision. See, provision is made on the process of estimation, and the estimations are subject to change, right? As the circumstances change, or maybe there are further developments, or maybe there is more information which has come in, right? And because of such reasons, right, the provision will change. So these provisions have to be reviewed at each balance sheet date, and adjustments have to be made to the amount of provision to reflect the current best estimate. If it is no longer probable that there will be an outflow, while we are doing the provisioning we thought there will be outflow, now based on changed circumstances it's not probable that there will be an outflow, then the provision should be reversed. Use of provision. The provision should be used only for the purpose for which the provision has been created. If you use the provision for some other purpose, right, not for the purpose for which it was originally created, then two separate transactions will be hidden. For example, we made a provision for income tax demand in the books of accounts. After certain years, after couple of years, there was a claim on us from a workman, right? We settled that workman claim and we knocked it off with the provision for income tax dues. So what will happen, that the provision was for income tax claim, but the expenditure was for workman due. If we knock these things both off, two separate events will be concealed, which is not allowed as per the standard. Future expecting losses, future expected losses, future operating losses are not treated as liability. They do not meet the recognition principle and they should not be recognized as provisions in the books of accounts. Then we'll talk about restructuring. See, restructuring we already know. We studied about amalgamation, we have studied about internal reconstruction. Maybe the business will be carried out in a different way. Maybe the business will be merged with some other business. Right? So there are different ways in which restructuring is done. So restructuring is a program that is planned and controlled by the management management and materially changes the scope of the business or the manner in which the business is conducted. Now, how do we deal with the provision relating to the reconstruct, right? So, recognition of provision for restructuring. A provision for restructuring cost is recognized only when the recognition criteria for provision is met, right? If you are let's say selling if we are making a plan to sell a particular division of our organization, we will recognize a provision for that only when there is a binding sale agreement has been entered, because only when we are proposing that we will sell, maybe future may there is some subsequent development, we may change our plan. So only when there is a binding sale agreement, then only that provision has to be made. The restructuring provision should include only the direct expenditure arising from the restructuring, right, which are those that are both necessarily entailed because of so this expenditure is incurred only because we are doing restructuring, and these are not related to the general activity of the enterprise. Then the standard says that certain type of expenditure should not be included in the provision for restructuring. For example, costs such as retaining or reallocating the staff, certain marketing expenses, investment in new system or distribution network, identifiable future operating losses till the date of restructuring should not be taken into account, because you only take past activities, and gains on expected disposal, which you've already discussed, should not be taken into account in the provision. And then we'll talk about the disclosure requirement. For each type of provision that is to be made, right, we need to disclose the opening balance of the provision, we need to disclose the additional provisions which you have recognized during the year, we need to disclose the amount of provision that has been utilized during the year. If certain provision is not required, we have to reverse that provision, so the reversal of that provision will be disclosed, and finally the closing balance of the provision will be disclosed. By this we are done with the revision of Accounting Standard 29.